We're almost a month into Season 8, and I think it's time to discuss Armour runes. To unlock all the runes, you'll have to reach Seasonal level 50. This will also appear as a green level 50 in-game. If you're unsure what your Seasonal level is, then you can check at any time by pressing the P key and hovering over the level indicator. This coincidentally also tells you how many levels you have gained this season. Before we start looking at runes for each individual armor, the helmet, body, boots and gloves, you need to know that each armor piece are given the runes Breaking Might and Conciliation, which provide +2 strength / toughness and +2 agility / armor respectively. These base runes are always a good option to take. As well as this, each armor piece receives a rune which provides 7 additional attributes in either strength, agility, toughness and armor. I highly recommend that you place these runes on every piece of armor as they increase your base stats immensely. Starting with the helmet, always run +7 toughness, as this is a great rune which increases your hit points by 700 whilst only taking up 1 slot. There are 5 other optional good runes you can choose to take depending on what you are aiming to achieve with your gear. 2 of which, as I've mentioned before, Breaking Might and Conciliation. The next 3 are as follows: +3% HP. This is a good rune because if you have a base HP of 25,000, this will increase your hit points by 750, however it does take up 2 slots. +30 critical value, a very good rune to take for light armor users, especially the dual blade players. This takes up only 1 slot. And finally, +25% bandage healing, which takes up 2 slots. Normally bandages only heal you for 6% of your health per bandage tick, but with this rune you will heal 7.5% of your HP per bandage instead. These are the runes I do not recommend that you take on the helmet. Bandage duration reduced by 50% and cooldown reduced by 50%. This is just pointless and a waste of 2 rune slots. Heal 2% at the supply. This also takes up 2 rune slots and is a waste as it is only active when standing on a resupply point. In my opinion, runes which are only active when you are on a resupply point or capture point are a waste of a rune slot compared to runes which are either active all the time or can be activated on command. Next up is the body armor piece. The +7 attribute rune for this piece of armor is by no surprise in armor. You'll want to take this rune no matter what, as it provides +21 points in all defense styles, which doesn't seem like much, but it is. For the body armor piece, there are only 4 good optional runes to take, 2 of which are again Breaking Might and Conciliation. The other 2 are +220 critical defense. This rune is more important for heavy / medium armor players who hate dual blade users. This rune will stop the dual blades from critting on you and therefore stop you from getting 1 comboed. I don't think it's really worth taking this rune for light armor users though, as you will want to prioritize damage instead. Do bear in mind that this does take up 2 rune slots. Finally, +300 HP and +10 armor in all styles. This is another great rune which provides a ton of stats whilst taking up only 1 rune slot. As for the bad body armor runes, there are 3. Decreased damage taken by 10% on capture point. This rune takes up 2 slots and is only active whilst on a capture point. As mentioned before, any runes which are not active at all times are a waste of slots. Immunity from bleeds and poisons for 5 seconds after using a bandage. This is not good as it takes up 3 slots. Considering how few units and heroes use bleed and poison effects, I think this is a pretty bad rune. Finally, we have damage reduction by 3%, and on death, decreased damage taken by allies by 10%. This is a rune which takes up 2 slots. Although this isn't a bad rune, I've placed this in the non-optimal rune section as this is the equivalent of having an additional 750 HP when you have a base HP of 25,000, when compared to the +220 critical defense rune, which will in most cases negate all critical damage. The amount of damage you are protected from should be more than 750 HP. And if you are a light armor user instead, you'll be focusing on runes which increase your damage stats like Breaking Might and Conciliation. There will be certain scenarios this rune will be a better alternative than others. This will be if you have an insane legendary armor set which provides you with over 1050 armor and 28,000 or greater HP. If you are finding this video helpful so far, please consider subscribing to help my channel grow. Now let's take a look at the boots. The +7 attribute rune for this piece of armor is to agility. Make sure to always take that rune. There are 4 good optional runes to pick for the boots, 2 of which, as you might already be able to guess, are Breaking Might and Conciliation. The other 2 runes are plus 40 armor penetration. This is a really good rune as it is equivalent to having 6.63 agility or strength to boost your penetration in your desired style whilst only taking up 1 slot. Finally, the ability to bandage whilst moving. This is a situationally good rune in deathmatch and duels as you can run away whilst healing. Do note that falling or any damage will interrupt your heal and that it does take up 2 slots. Now onto the bad runes for the boots, from which there are 3. Reduce fall damage by 30%, takes up 2 slots, and I don't know why anyone would consider taking this rune. Where possible, you will want to abuse your horse to tank any fall damage anyway. Movement speed increased by 4% is another useless rune. 4% speed buff is not nearly enough to make any difference and takes up 2 slots. Finally, plus 20% stamina recovery on a capture point. Again, a useless rune which takes up 2 slots. The final armor piece we will be looking at are the gloves. The plus 7 attribute rune for this piece of armor is in strength. This is probably the only one which you may reconsider taking when playing piercing damage based classes. I'll explain why in just a moment. Just like in the previous armor runes, you can choose to run Breaking Might and Conciliation as these are always good to take. There are 3 other good runes to run, which are plus 10% damage after killing a hero for 10 seconds. Although class dependent, this is a great rune for dual blade players. This does take up 2 rune slots though. Plus 30 damage, a great 1 slot rune. And lastly, increased damage dealt by 3% on death and increased damage of allies by 10% for 10 seconds. This is also a 2 slot rune. I mentioned earlier that it isn't always optimal to take the plus 7 strength rune on the gloves if you are playing a piercing damaged class. If you want to prioritize damage in a piercing based class, it will be best to take the plus 30 damage rune alongside the 3% damage rune instead. With the base piercing damage of 2000, this should increase your piercing damage by 91. But if you are running a class which scales with strength, it is much better to take the plus 7 strength rune alongside plus 30 damage and Breaking Might. With a base slashing damage of 2000, this will give you an additional 84 slashing damage with 200 additional health. I value getting the additional 200 HP much greater than getting an additional 7 slashing or blunt damage from running the plus 3% damage rune. When it comes to the bad runes for the gloves, there are only 2, which are kill 5 soldiers to increase damage by 10% for 10 seconds. This is a 2 slot rune which isn't worth taking as it can be difficult to activate depending on which class you are playing. Last but not least, increase damage by 10% when on a capture point. This is another 2 slot rune which isn't worth taking as it requires you to be on a capture point to become useful. Before we end the video, here is a quick look at my rune loadout for heavy armor and medium armor. I hope you found this video helpful. If you would like to support me, then please consider subscribing to help my channel grow. I also stream regularly on Twitch and I love to see you there. You can find the relevant links in the video description. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.